I need you to stop for a moment, my child. Do not scroll. Do not skip ahead. Do not tell yourself you will come back to this later. There is a reason your eyes landed on these words today, and if you have been carrying a heaviness you cannot explain, if you have been feeling restless even when everything around you seems normal, then what I am about to say is connected to that feeling more than you realize. There is one word you have been trying not to hear. You have stayed busy. You have stayed distracted. You have filled your days with responsibilities, obligations, noise, and endless thoughts because somewhere deep inside, your heart already knows what that word is asking of you. Yet every time it comes close, you turn away from it. Every time it rises to the surface, you find another reason to postpone the conversation. But today I am asking you to stay. Not because I want something from you, because I want something for you. You have been carrying burdens that were never meant to become permanent residents in your soul. You have been trying to manage fears that keep stealing your peace. You have been holding on to wounds that continue shaping your decisions long after the original pain happened. And perhaps the hardest part is that you have become so accustomed to carrying these things that you no longer recognize how exhausted they have made you. I see what nobody else sees. I see the thoughts that arrive when the room becomes quiet. I see the questions you never ask out loud. I see the pressure you place on yourself. I see the private battles hidden behind the version of you that everyone else knows. You may have convinced yourself that this is simply how life is now. You may have accepted tension as normal, emotional fatigue as unavoidable, and inner restlessness as something you must learn to live with. But my child, that is not why I brought you here. This moment is not random. Out of all the messages you could have ignored, something made you stop here. Something inside you hesitated. Something inside you recognized that these words were not just passing through your day. They were reaching for you. Stay with me until the end, because if you leave now, you may miss the very thing your soul has been searching for beneath all the noise. You may miss the reason your heart has felt so unsettled. You may miss the truth hiding behind the exhaustion you keep trying to outrun. But if you stay, if you listen carefully, if you allow your defenses to lower for just a little while, you may finally understand why this one word has followed you for so long. And when you understand it, you may discover that the thing you feared was taking something away from you was actually trying to set you free all along. So come closer, my child. Take a deep breath. Quiet every distraction. Because the word you cannot ignore anymore is about to reveal why your soul has been calling for it all this time. There is one word your soul has been avoiding, and the reason you cannot escape the heaviness inside you anymore is because that word keeps waiting for you in silence. You have distracted yourself, exhausted yourself, and carried burdens you were never meant to hold alone. Yet something inside you still feels restless. Listen to me carefully, my child, because this message is not reaching you by accident. Do not rush through these words. What you are about to hear will confront the part of you that has been hiding behind survival mode for far too long. I am going to speak directly to the exhaustion you never explain to anyone, the fear you bury beneath busyness, and the surrender your heart secretly knows it needs. And once you hear this fully, you will not be able to return to pretending you did not feel it. My child, you almost kept moving without stopping here. Your mind was already somewhere else, carrying the weight of another long day, another list of things waiting for your attention. You thought this would be like everything else you pass by without remembering. But something inside you paused for a second. You felt it quietly. Maybe you could not explain why you stayed, but your heart recognized something before your thoughts did. That moment mattered more than you realize. I know how fast your life has become. You wake up already carrying pressure before the day even begins. There are responsibilities pulling at you from every direction, conversations replaying in your head, worries you push aside because you do not have the energy to face them fully. You have learned how to keep functioning while parts of you feel exhausted underneath it all. Most people around you never notice it because you became skilled at appearing okay even when your spirit feels worn thin. You keep distracting yourself because slowing down feels uncomfortable now. Silence has become difficult for you because silence forces you to notice what you have been avoiding. There are emotions you push deeper instead of dealing with them. There are disappointments you never gave yourself permission to grieve properly. Sometimes you stay busy simply because you are afraid of what you might feel if everything became quiet for too long. I understand that about you completely. Still, even with all the noise around you, there is a deeper part of you that has not stopped searching. That is why you did not scroll away immediately. Something in your soul is tired of surface-level living. You have spent so much time surviving that you barely remember what inner peace feels like anymore. You laugh when expected, answer people politely, continue through routines, yet somewhere inside you there is still a question that never fully leaves you. You keep wondering why nothing around you seems able to settle the heaviness within. I am not speaking to shame you for that. I am speaking because I want you to understand that your exhaustion is not weakness. Your heart has been carrying more than you admit even to yourself. And despite how disconnected you may have felt lately, I have never stopped paying attention to you. I have seen the moments nobody else saw. The quiet thoughts before sleep. The emotional weight hidden behind ordinary conversations. The loneliness that visits even when people surround you. So stay here with me for a little while, my child. You do not need to force anything. You do not need perfect faith or perfect words. Just let yourself become still long enough to recognize that your soul has been asking for something deeper than distraction can ever give you. My child, I want you to stop pretending for a moment that you are only tired because you need more sleep. You know that is not the real reason. Your body rests sometimes, but your mind keeps running long after the room becomes quiet. You carry conversations inside yourself that never seem to end. You replay things you wish you had said differently. You think about people who changed toward you without explanation. You wonder whether all the effort you give to others is ever truly seen. That kind of exhaustion settles deep inside a person. It follows you into ordinary moments and makes even small things feel heavier than they should. I have watched you continue anyway. You still answer messages. You still show up for responsibilities. You still try to be dependable because part of you fears what would happen if you finally admitted how drained you really feel. You became so used to carrying emotional weight quietly that you almost believe this is simply what life is supposed to feel like. But listen to me carefully now. You were not created to live with your soul constantly burdened and disconnected from peace. There are days when you smile while something inside you feels far away from everyone around you. You sit near people yet still feel unseen. You laugh during conversations while privately wondering why your heart feels so absent from your own life. I know you have tried to explain this feeling before, but words failed you. It is difficult to describe exhaustion that comes from carrying pressure silently for too long. That weight does not always come from dramatic tragedies. Sometimes it comes from years of holding yourself together without allowing anyone to truly hold you. Come closer to me now instead of pushing yourself harder. Stop measuring your worth by how much pain you can survive without breaking down publicly. That is not strength, my child. Real strength begins when you finally become honest about what your heart has been carrying. I am not disappointed in your weariness. I am concerned about how long you have ignored it. You keep telling yourself that eventually things will calm down on their own, yet your spirit has been asking for care, not more distraction. Even now, while you hear these words, there is part of you that feels relief simply because someone finally understands what you could never fully explain. I understand it completely. So breathe for a moment and let your shoulders relax. Stop trying to solve everything tonight. Stop rehearsing tomorrow's worry before tomorrow even arrives. Sit here with me honestly. Let yourself admit that you are tired in ways most people never notice. I already know it, and I am not turning away from you because of it. I am asking you to stop running long enough to let your soul rest in something deeper than temporary escape. My child, you have spent a long time wondering why everything became so quiet around you. You prayed for clarity, yet answers seemed distant. You searched for certainty, but instead you found long stretches of silence that made you question whether I was still near you at all. I know how uncomfortable that became for you. Silence can feel unbearable when your heart is desperate for direction. It can make you wonder if you are being ignored, forgotten, or left alone to figure life out by yourself. But I need you to understand something important. My silence was never abandonment. I was not punishing you by becoming quiet. There were things happening inside you that could only surface once the noise around you settled down. Your life had become crowded with distractions, constant stimulation, endless opinions, and emotional survival. You were listening to everyone except your own soul. So I allowed silence because silence reveals what busyness tries to hide. You kept reaching for louder things because quiet moments forced you to face emotions you had avoided for years. There were disappointments buried inside you that still shaped the way you saw yourself. There were wounds affecting your choices without you even realizing it. You wanted immediate answers while your heart still needed honesty first. That is why the silence stayed longer than you expected. Sit with me here and stop fighting the stillness for a moment. Do not rush to fill every empty space anymore. Listen carefully to what rises inside you when the distractions fade. You have spent so much energy trying not to feel vulnerable that you forgot vulnerability is often where healing quietly begins. I never needed perfect words from you. I wanted your attention. I wanted your honesty. I wanted the version of you that exists underneath all the performance and emotional armor. You thought silence meant nothing was happening, but I was working in places you could not yet see. Sometimes I remove noise because your soul cannot breathe under constant pressure forever. Sometimes I become quiet because your heart hath been speaking over itself for too long. I know that stillness frightened you. It exposed loneliness, confusion, regret, and questions you tried to outrun. Yet it also created space for truth to finally reach you. Do not run from that truth now. Stay here and let yourself become still enough to hear what your heart has been whispering beneath all the exhaustion. You are not abandoned, my child. You are being invited into something deeper than distraction, and that invitation often begins in silence. My child, there is a reason your heart tightens whenever life begins to slow down enough for honesty to reach you. Deep inside, there is one word you keep avoiding because you think it means losing control. You hear it quietly in moments when your spirit feels exhausted from carrying too much alone. You feel it when your plans collapse and you realize your own strength cannot hold everything together forever. That word is surrender, and you have misunderstood it for a very long time. You thought surrender meant weakness. You thought it meant giving up your voice, your desires, your independence, or the parts of yourself you worked so hard to protect. So instead of surrendering, you kept gripping tighter. You tried harder. You carried more pressure. You forced yourself forward even when your soul was asking for rest. Yet the tighter you held on to everything, the heavier your life became. You were trying to control outcomes, people, timing, and emotions that were never fully yours to carry. Come closer and listen carefully to me now. Surrender is not losing yourself. Surrender is finally releasing the exhausting illusion that you must hold your entire world together alone. I never asked you to survive by becoming emotionally numb. I never asked you to build walls so high that even peace could not reach you. You have been living like someone stranded in a storm, gripping broken pieces tightly because you are afraid to let go. But those pieces are cutting your hands while you try to save yourself with them. You keep waiting until you feel strong enough to trust me fully, but trust rarely begins in strength. It begins in honesty. It begins in the moment you finally admit that your current way of living is draining your spirit. Stop fighting that truth. Stop pretending you are fine when your heart has been quietly begging for relief. Lay your fears down here with me for a moment. Stop rehearsing every possible disaster in your mind. Release the pressure to always know what comes next. I know surrender scares you because life taught you that letting go usually ended in disappointment. People failed you. Promises changed. Stability disappeared without warning. So now you cling tightly to control because it feels safer than vulnerability. But your soul was never designed to live clenched shut all the time. Open your heart slowly. Breathe again. Let yourself believe that surrender can feel like peace instead of loss. Do not run from this word anymore, my child. Sit with it honestly. Let it soften the places inside you that became rigid from survival. You do not need to carry every burden alone tonight. Release what has been crushing your spirit and let me meet you there instead of hiding behind exhaustion and control. My child, the word you have been running from is the very doorway through which many souls are waiting to encounter my peace. Every time you release what you cling to and sow into this mission, you become like oil poured into lamps burning in dark places where weary hearts are desperate for light. Did I not say, "Give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over"? I am speaking that promise over you now. The enemy wants you to believe your seed is small, but I tell you, even a single act of obedience can become bread multiplied in my hands for thousands who are silently starving for hope. When you give through Super Thanks, become a member, or so through the PayPal link in the description, you are not funding a video. You are helping carry my voice into exhausted hearts standing on the edge of surrender. I see those who move quickly when I stir their spirit, and I pour favor upon the hands that refuse to let my fire go out in this generation. Do not ignore this moment, my child. Obey the stirring in your heart now. Sow your seed, and help my word reach the ones still trapped in the storm. My child, you have spent so much time trying to move forward that you barely noticed how restless your spirit has become. You keep searching for something that finally feels enough. You tell yourself the next achievement, the next relationship, the next season of life will settle the uneasiness inside you. Yet every time you reach what you thought would satisfy you, the feeling returns quietly. You celebrate for a moment, then the emptiness creeps back in again like a shadow waiting nearby. I know how confusing that has been for you. From the outside, parts of your life may even look fine. You still function. You still complete responsibilities. You still keep moving while secretly wondering why fulfillment disappears so quickly after you finally touch it. You thought maybe you were ungrateful, maybe too emotional, maybe expecting too much from life. But your restlessness is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is proof that your soul was made for more than distraction and survival. Listen to yourself carefully for a moment. Even during your happiest experiences, there are quiet moments when your thoughts drift somewhere deeper. You feel it late at night after the noise fades. You feel it in crowded places where you suddenly feel emotionally distant from everyone around you. You feel it after accomplishing something important and realizing the victory did not heal what you hoped it would heal. That ache inside you has been trying to tell you something. Stop numbing it so quickly every time it surfaces. Stop drowning your inner life with endless noise, constant scrolling, overworking, or emotional avoidance. Sit still long enough to hear what your spirit hath been saying beneath all the distractions. Your soul is restless because you keep feeding every part of yourself except the deepest one. You care for appearances. You manage responsibilities. You chase temporary relief. Yet your heart still longs for connection, peace, truth, and rest that lasts longer than a passing moment. I am not asking you to abandon your life. I am asking you to stop building your entire identity around things that cannot fully hold your soul together. Let yourself become honest about what has not been working. Open the locked places inside you instead of constantly decorating the outside. You have been starving inwardly while trying to appear strong outwardly. Come sit with me honestly now. Put down the pressure to constantly chase more. Stop measuring your worth by productivity, approval, or temporary success. Let your restless spirit breathe for a moment without immediately reaching for another distraction. I know the deeper hunger inside you because I placed eternity in your heart long before this world taught you to settle for smaller things. My child, you spent so much time searching for relief in places that only knew how to distract you temporarily. You truly believed certain people would finally calm the ache inside you. You thought if someone loved you deeply enough, understood you perfectly enough, or stayed close enough, the loneliness would disappear for good. So you opened your heart carefully, hoping connection would heal what had already been hurting long before those people entered your life. Yet every time you placed the weight of your soul entirely into human hands, disappointment eventually followed behind it. I watched you chase comfort through achievements too. You told yourself that reaching the next milestone would finally quiet the insecurity living inside you. You worked harder, pushed yourself further, stayed busy until exhaustion became normal. For a little while, success gave you relief. Compliments felt good. Recognition distracted you. Accomplishments created temporary excitement. But late at night, after the noise faded, your heart still carried the same heaviness waiting quietly underneath everything else. Come sit honestly with me now and stop pretending those things fully healed you. You already know they did not. Some of the habits you turned toward were never about enjoyment at all. They were escape routes. Endless scrolling, constant entertainment, emotional attachments, overworking, pretending you were fine, shutting people out before they could hurt you again. You reached for whatever could numb the deeper ache quickly because pain felt too overwhelming to face directly. I understand why you did that. You were trying to survive with the tools you had. But listen closely to me now, my child. Temporary relief is not the same thing as peace. Distraction may silence pain for a moment, but it cannot restore a tired soul. You kept treating symptoms while your heart quietly begged for healing at the root. That is why the emptiness kept returning no matter how much you filled your life with activity, people, goals, or noise. Do not shame yourself for searching in the wrong places. Every human heart searches for comfort when it feels wounded. Yet I need you to stop handing your deepest needs to things that were never designed to carry them. No person can permanently hold together the broken places inside you. No achievement can convince your soul that it is finally worthy enough to rest. No distraction can erase emotional wounds that still need honesty, grace, and healing. So stop running back to the same empty wells expecting living water. Come closer instead. Bring me the parts of you that still ache beneath the surface. Let yourself admit what has not been working. Release the pressure to keep pretending you are healed when your spirit still feels fragile inside. I am not asking you to become perfect overnight. I am inviting you to stop searching everywhere except the place where real peace begins. My child, You have become surrounded by so much noise that you almost forgot what it feels like to truly be present inside your own life. Your attention gets pulled in every direction from the moment you wake up. Screens flash constantly. Thoughts race endlessly. One distraction quickly replaces another until entire days pass by without you ever slowing down long enough to notice what is happening inside your heart. You stay occupied, but deep down you know being constantly distracted is not the same thing as truly living. There are moments when you reach for your phone without even thinking because silence feels uncomfortable now. You scroll while your mind feels restless. You keep background noise playing because quiet moments bring emotions too close to the surface. I know why you do it. Distraction gives temporary relief from thoughts you do not want to sit with. It creates distance between you and the exhaustion, grief, fear, or loneliness waiting underneath everything else. But slowly, almost without realizing it, you began losing connection with yourself. Pause here with me for a moment and notice how long it had been since your soul felt fully awake. You still complete tasks. You still move through routines. You still laugh sometimes. Yet part of you feels emotionally far away from your own experiences. Life became something you manage instead of something you deeply inhabit. You consume endless information while your inner world quietly starves for peace, reflection, honesty, and stillness. I never created you simply to survive one distracted day after another. I created you to feel wonder again. I created you to experience connection deeply instead of numbing yourself constantly. I created you to recognize beauty, peace, love, and truth without rushing past them like they are interruptions. Yet distraction has trained your heart to avoid stillness because stillness forces honesty. Come closer now and let yourself slow down without immediately reaching for escape. Turn down the noise for a little while. Put aside the pressure to constantly entertain yourself. Sit with your own thoughts long enough to hear what your spirit has been trying to say beneath all the stimulation. You do not need more distraction, my child. You need restoration. Being alive means more than staying busy until exhaustion knocks you unconscious each night. It means feeling connected again to your own heart, your purpose, your relationships, and your soul. It means noticing when your spirit feels dry instead of covering it quickly with noise. Stop running from quiet moments as though they are enemies. Some of the deepest healing begins there. Breathe slowly now. Let your mind settle. Allow yourself to feel present instead of scattered for a moment. Your soul has been waiting patiently for your attention while the world kept teaching you to look everywhere except inward. My child, there have been prayers living inside you that never fully became words. You carried them quietly because part of you feared what it would mean if you finally admitted them honestly. Some nights you laid awake staring into the darkness, feeling thoughts move through your mind that you could not explain to anyone around you. You wanted peace, but you also wanted reassurance that your life still mattered. You wanted relief from the pressure inside your chest. You wanted someone to tell you that you were not slowly losing yourself while trying to survive everything life kept placing on your shoulders. I heard those silent prayers even when your lips never moved. I heard the exhaustion behind your sighs. I understood the meaning behind moments when you sat quietly and felt tears rise for reasons you could not fully name. You thought prayer had to sound polished or certain, but I listened to the confusion too. I listened when your faith felt weak. I listened when disappointment made you afraid to hope again. You never needed perfect language for me to understand your heart. Come closer now and stop hiding your real thoughts from me. Stop editing your emotions before bringing them into the light. I already know what lives inside you. I know the fears you push aside during the day because responsibilities demand your attention. I know how often you quietly ask whether things will ever truly change. There is a part of you that wonders if peace is something meant for other people while you simply endure life one exhausting day at a time. Bring that thought to me honestly instead of burying it deeper. You have carried questions that felt too dangerous to speak aloud. You wondered whether you are truly loved beneath all your mistakes. You wondered why certain wounds stayed open for so long. You wondered if anyone genuinely sees how hard you have been fighting internally while appearing normal externally. My child, I have seen every hidden battle. Nothing inside you has been invisible to me. Do not rush away from this moment. Sit here with me and let your soul become honest without fear of judgment. Tell me what hurts instead of pretending you have moved past it. Release the pressure to appear emotionally strong every second. Invite me into the places inside you that still feel fragile, uncertain, or tired. You do not need to impress me with perfect faith. I would rather hear your honest exhaustion than rehearsed words that hide your real condition. Let your heart speak naturally now. Open the door you have kept locked for too long. Healing often begins quietly, not with dramatic moments, but with the simple decision to finally stop hiding your deepest thoughts from the one who has loved you through every silent night already. My child, the prayers you never spoke aloud are the same kind of cries rising tonight from countless hidden hearts across the earth. I am calling you to become part of the answer to those silent prayers by helping my word reach the weary, the anxious, and the forgotten. Every seed sown through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description becomes like living water flowing into dry places where souls are desperate to breathe again. Have I not declared, those who sow in tears shall reap in joy? I am watching over every generous act, and I know the hearts who give not from pressure, but from love and obedience. This is not coincidence. This is a divine appointment woven into the very moment you are hearing my voice. As you open your hand to support this mission, I will open doors, pour fresh oil over your life, and strengthen the places inside you that have grown weary from carrying too much alone. Do not delay what I am asking of you now. Step forward immediately, give boldly, and help carry these healing words to the ones crying out to me in silence tonight. My child, you keep wondering why something inside you continues returning to these words even after you try to move on with your day. Part of you wants to dismiss it quickly, to call it coincidence or emotion, yet another part of you keeps pausing. You feel the pull again when things become quiet. You think about these moments even when you try distracting yourself with other things. That is happening because your spirit recognizes truth long before your mind fully understands it. You have spent so much time living around noise that genuine stillness now feels unfamiliar. Most voices in your life ask something from you. They demand your energy, your attention, your performance, your productivity. They tell you who you should become while quietly exhausting the person you already are. But when truth reaches your heart, it feels different. It does not flatter your ego or pressure you into pretending. It reaches deeper than appearances. That is why you cannot fully walk away from this feeling. Do not ignore that pull, my child. Stop treating your soul like an inconvenience that must constantly stay quiet while everything else receives your attention. Something inside you is waking up slowly. You feel it in moments when distractions stop working the way they used to. You notice it when empty habits no longer satisfy you for very long. You recognize it during conversations where your smile feels disconnected from your real emotions. Your spirit has grown tired of surviving without deeper connection. Come sit here honestly instead of running back toward noise every time your heart begins opening slightly. Let yourself stay still long enough to notice what keeps drawing you back. You are not searching for another temporary emotional moment. You are searching for something real enough to steady your soul. Deep down, you already know that. I have been patient with you through every season where you ignored your inner life and focused only on outward survival. I watched you carry burdens silently while convincing yourself you were fine. I saw how often you reached for distraction because facing your real emotions felt overwhelming. Yet despite all of that, the deeper part of you never stopped longing for peace that could actually last. Do not rush past this invitation now. Breathe slowly and listen carefully to what your heart has been trying to tell you beneath all the exhaustion. You keep returning here because your soul is recognizing something familiar. It recognizes care instead of performance. It recognizes truth instead of noise. It recognizes rest instead of pressure. Stay here a little longer, my child. Stop resisting the possibility that your spirit already knows what your mind is still trying to understand. My child, you have been moving through life at a pace that leaves almost no room for your own heart to catch up with you. You stay busy because busyness gives you something to focus on besides what is happening inside. The moment everything becomes quiet, emotions begin rising that you do not fully know how to handle. Memories surface. Questions return. Certain wounds start asking for attention again. So instead of slowing down, you keep yourself in motion because movement feels safer than honesty. I understand why you learned to live this way. Life taught you that stopping could feel dangerous. There were seasons when pain arrived suddenly and changed things you trusted. There were moments when disappointment sat so heavily on your chest that distraction became your survival strategy. You discovered that if you stayed occupied enough, you could avoid sitting alone with thoughts that felt too sharp to face directly. But listen carefully to me now, my child. Constant movement cannot heal a tired soul. It can only postpone what still needs care. Come closer and stop running from your own inner life for a moment. Sit still with me without immediately reaching for another distraction. Put down the pressure to keep proving that you are okay. Your exhaustion is not only physical anymore. Your spirit hath been carrying emotional weight while pretending everything is manageable. You keep telling yourself that eventually you will rest, eventually you will deal with your emotions, eventually you will slow down when life becomes easier. But your heart has been quietly asking for attention now, not someday far away. You fear slowing down because you are afraid of what silence might reveal. You worry that if you stop long enough, you will finally feel how lonely, disappointed, or overwhelmed you have truly become. Yet avoiding those feelings has not freed you from them. It only pushed them deeper where they continued shaping your thoughts, reactions, and relationships quietly in the background. Do not be afraid of stillness, my child. Stillness is not your enemy. Sometimes healing begins the moment you stop sprinting away from yourself. Let the noise settle. Let your breathing slow down. Allow your soul to speak honestly without interruption for once. You do not need to solve your entire life tonight. You do not need perfect answers before resting your heart for a while. I am inviting you into something gentler than survival mode. Stop gripping every responsibility so tightly for a moment and let yourself simply exist without performing. You have been carrying yourself like someone stranded in an endless storm, always bracing for the next wave. Come sit with me instead. Rest here long enough to remember that peace cannot enter a heart that never slows down enough to receive it. My child, despite everything you have been through, there is still a quiet part of you that refuses to completely give up. I know there were moments when disappointment hardened your heart a little. I know life taught you to lower your expectations because hoping too deeply sometimes led to pain. Yet even after all the exhaustion, heartbreak, delays, and unanswered questions, something inside you still keeps reaching toward light. That small surviving part of your spirit matters more than you realize. You tried convincing yourself not to expect too much anymore. You told yourself it was safer that way. You became careful with your emotions because you grew tired of feeling let down. But even while protecting yourself, you never fully stopped searching for peace, connection, meaning, and love that feels genuine. That is why certain words still affect you deeply. That is why your heart still reacts when truth touches something hidden inside you. Your soul may feel weary, but it is not dead. Come closer now and stop speaking to yourself as though your sensitivity is weakness. The fact that you still desire hope after everything you endured says something beautiful about your heart. Many people become cold after pain. Many people shut down completely and stop believing anything meaningful can still happen for them. Yet here you are, still listening, still searching, still quietly longing for restoration even if you rarely admit it aloud anymore. I see how carefully you guard that remaining hope. You protect it because life has bruised it before. You fear becoming vulnerable again only to feel disappointed one more time. So you carry hope quietly now, almost secretly, like a small flame hidden from strong winds. But do not bury it completely, my child. Do not treat your longing for peace as foolishness. That longing is part of what keeps your spirit alive beneath all the exhaustion. Sit here with me honestly and let yourself acknowledge that you still want things to change. You still want rest that feels real. You still want connection that feels safe. You still want mornings that do not begin with heaviness sitting immediately on your chest. You still want to believe your life can become more than endless emotional survival. Admit that desire instead of suppressing it every time disappointment whispers that nothing will ever improve. I am not asking you to force optimism or pretend pain never happened. I am asking you to stop feeding hopelessness like it is wisdom. Hope is not denial. Hope is the quiet decision to remain open to healing even after life wounded you deeply. So protect that small flame inside you, my child. Bring it closer to me instead of hiding it beneath fear and exhaustion. My child, there is grief inside you that you rarely allow yourself to name. Most people think grief only belongs to death, but you know it can live quietly inside everyday life too. You have grieved lost years, lost trust, lost versions of yourself that slowly disappeared while you were trying to survive. Some of your sadness comes from moments nobody else even noticed were breaking your heart. You kept moving forward because life demanded it, yet pieces of you remained standing in places where something important was lost. I know you still revisit certain memories in silence. You think about conversations that changed everything afterward. You remember seasons when your heart felt softer, lighter, more hopeful than it does now. There are dreams you once carried with excitement that slowly faded under disappointment, exhaustion, and time. You rarely speak about those things because you convinced yourself you should have moved on already. But grief does not disappear simply because you ignore it long enough. Come sit honestly with me now and stop minimizing your pain. Stop telling yourself you are weak for still feeling affected by things that changed you deeply. Some wounds do not bleed outwardly, yet they still shape how you see yourself, how you trust people, and how safe you feel emotionally. You became skilled at functioning while grieving privately. You learned how to continue smiling while carrying invisible heaviness underneath ordinary conversations. I watched you blame yourself for becoming more guarded over time. You wondered why joy started feeling distant. You questioned why your energy disappeared so quickly around people. But grief quietly drains the heart when it remains unspoken for too long. It sits beneath your routines like a hidden weight tied around your spirit. That is why certain moments affect you more deeply than others. That is why exhaustion sometimes arrives even when nothing dramatic happened that day. Do not rush yourself through healing now, my child. Stop demanding instant recovery from wounds that took years to form. Let yourself acknowledge what hurt you instead of acting like it never mattered. Bring those memories into the light with me instead of carrying them alone in silence. You do not need to perform emotional strength every moment of your life. Breathe slowly and let your heart soften instead of staying constantly guarded. I am not asking you to live trapped in sorrow forever. I am asking you to stop pretending you never lost anything important. Healing begins when honesty replaces suppression. Let yourself grieve what was broken, what changed, what ended, and what never became what you hoped it would become. Come closer now. Lay your hidden grief down here instead of carrying it silently through another exhausting season. You were never meant to hold all this pain alone while convincing the world you are completely fine. My child, your hidden grief has made you sensitive to the pain others carry in silence, and that is why I am inviting you to help me reach them now. There are people scrolling through darkness tonight, carrying invisible sorrow, waiting for one message filled with my presence to stop them from giving up completely. Every gift through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description becomes a seed planted into wounded ground, and I will cause that seed to rise like a harvest of healing in places you may never personally see. Remember my words, a bruised reed I will not break, and a smoldering wick I will not snuff out. I am still protecting fragile hearts, and I am calling you to help keep that flame alive through your obedience today. The enemy has tried to convince many that nobody sees their pain, but through this mission my voice is reaching into hidden rooms, lonely nights, and exhausted souls searching for hope. I bless every giver with peace, provision, and supernatural covering, for those who pour into my work will never sow into empty ground. Do not hesitate while your heart is being stirred. Give now, support this mission, and help carry my comfort into the lives of those silently grieving tonight. My child, there are moments when you barely recognize yourself emotionally anymore. Things that once moved your heart deeply now feel distant. Conversations happen around you while part of your mind drifts somewhere far away. You still react outwardly when necessary, but inwardly you often feel disconnected from your own emotions. That numbness has frightened you at times because you remember when you used to feel life more fully than this. I need you to understand something important. Your numbness did not appear because you stopped caring. It formed slowly after carrying too much pain for too long without enough rest, comfort, or safety. Your heart learned how to protect itself by shutting certain doors emotionally. After enough disappointment, enough stress, enough silent battles, your spirit became exhausted from feeling everything so intensely. Numbness became your mind's way of surviving overwhelming emotional weight. Stop condemning yourself for that, my child. You are not cold-hearted. You are tired in places most people cannot see. There were seasons when you felt too much all at once, and eventually your heart began lowering the volume just to keep functioning. You still care deeply beneath the surface, but your emotions became buried under survival mode, pressure, disappointment, and unprocessed grief. Come closer now, and allow yourself to be honest about how disconnected you have been feeling lately. Stop pretending your numbness does not exist. Pay attention to the moments when you feel emotionally absent from your own life. You reach for distractions quickly because silence reminds you of the emptiness underneath. You keep yourself occupied because slowing down forces you to notice how exhausted your inner world has become. I am not asking you to force emotions you cannot currently access. Healing does not happen through pretending. It begins when you stop fighting the truth about where your heart actually is. Sit quietly with me for a moment instead of escaping immediately into noise again. Let your soul breathe without pressure. Let yourself feel small pieces of honesty instead of demanding dramatic emotional breakthroughs overnight. Your numbness is not permanent, my child. It is a signal that your spirit needs care, gentleness, and restoration. Deep inside you, your heart still longs to feel alive again. You still want connection that feels genuine. You still want peace that reaches deeper than temporary distractions. That longing itself proves your soul has not disappeared beneath the exhaustion. So stop speaking to yourself like someone beyond healing. Open your heart slowly instead of forcing it open all at once. Invite me into the numb places without shame. I know how tired you became while carrying everything alone, and I have not turned away from you because your feelings grew quiet. My child, one of the quietest lies you have carried is the belief that you somehow drifted too far from peace to ever fully return to it again. You may not say those exact words aloud, but the feeling has followed you for a long time. It appears when you think about your mistakes too deeply. It rises when you remember the ways life changed you. It whispers to you during moments when shame feels heavier than hope. Part of you wonders whether too much damage has already been done inside your heart. I know how that lie formed. It did not arrive suddenly. It grew slowly through disappointments, regrets, broken trust, emotional exhaustion, and seasons where you felt disconnected from yourself. After enough painful experiences, you began seeing yourself through the lens of failure instead of compassion. You started believing that if people truly knew how tired, confused, or wounded you felt inside, they would quietly step away from you too. Come closer now and stop agreeing with that lie. Stop speaking about yourself like someone beyond healing. You are not ruined because life hurt you deeply. You are not unworthy because you struggled silently. You are not too far gone because certain seasons chained you. Pain may have shaped parts of your personality, but it did not erase your value. Your exhaustion does not cancel your worth. Your past does not disqualify you from peace. I watched you become harder on yourself than anyone else around you. You replay old decisions repeatedly as though punishing yourself long enough might somehow undo them. You carry guilt into ordinary days and wonder why your spirit feels heavy all the time. But listen carefully to me now, my child. Shame keeps people trapped by convincing them they deserve to stay broken. Healing begins when you finally stop defining yourself only by the worst moments of your life. Sit here honestly with me and let your defenses soften for a moment. You do not need to hide the imperfect parts of yourself from me. I already know every hidden thought, every regret, every fear you rarely admit aloud. Yet I still speak to you with tenderness instead of rejection. Let that truth reach deeper than your self-criticism for once. Stop expecting yourself to become instantly whole overnight. Open your heart slowly. Allow grace to enter the places where shame built walls around your spirit. You are not too damaged for restoration. You are simply tired from carrying emotional weight without enough mercy toward yourself. So breathe again, my child. Lift your head instead of living permanently bowed beneath regret. The story of your life is not finished because you struggled. Do not hand shame the authority to define who you are forever. Step closer instead of withdrawing further into isolation. Peace still knows how to find you. My child, there comes a quiet kind of emptiness that settles into a person when they ignore their inner life for too long. It does not happen all at once. It happens slowly, almost invisibly, for years of overriding your own emotions, silencing your own needs, and pushing past the signals your soul keeps sending you. At first, you barely notice it. You stay productive. You continue functioning. You keep fulfilling responsibilities. But underneath everything, a distance quietly grows between you and yourself. I know how often you ignored what your heart was trying to tell you because survival seemed more urgent. You stayed in situations that drained you. You kept saying yes when your spirit was exhausted. You dismissed your sadness because other people depended on you. You convinced yourself there would eventually be time to deal with your inner world later. But your soul kept whispering while you kept postponing the conversation. Come sit honestly with me now and pay attention to what has been happening inside you. You have spent so long focusing outwardly that you barely recognize your own emotional needs anymore. You notice tension in your body before you notice pain in your spirit. You feel disconnected from joy but cannot explain exactly when that disconnect began. Your soul became quieter because you repeatedly taught yourself not to listen to it. That silence inside you was never meant to become permanent. Your inner life matters deeply. The exhaustion you feel is not always caused by responsibilities alone. Sometimes it comes from constantly abandoning yourself emotionally while trying to meet everyone else's expectations. You learned how to appear stable externally while internally feeling scattered, unseen, and emotionally hungry. Stop brushing past your own heart like it is an inconvenience, my child. Pause long enough to hear what your spirit has been saying beneath all the pressure. Listen to the sadness you bearing beneath busyness. Listen to the loneliness hidden behind your routines. Listen to the quiet longing for peace that keeps surfacing no matter how many distractions surround you. Your soul has not stopped speaking. You simply became too overwhelmed to hear it clearly. I am inviting you back into honesty with yourself now. Put down the performance for a while. Stop treating emotional numbness like maturity. Stop convincing yourself that constant exhaustion is normal. You were not created to live disconnected from your own heart indefinitely. Breathe slowly and allow yourself to reconnect with the deeper parts of you that have been neglected for too long. Real healing cannot happen while you continuously silence your inner life. Come back to yourself, my child. Come back gently, patiently, honestly. Your soul has been waiting a very long time for your attention. My child, you did not wake up one morning and suddenly become disconnected from yourself. It happened slowly, quietly, over time. That is why it became difficult for you to notice while it was happening. You lost small pieces of yourself through constant pressure, silent disappointments, emotional survival, and the exhausting need to keep going no matter how heavy life became. At first, you told yourself you were simply adapting. You thought you were becoming stronger. But somewhere along the way, you stopped checking on your own heart while trying to carry everything else. I watched you ignore your exhaustion because responsibilities felt more urgent. I saw you silence your emotions because you believed other people needed you stable and dependable. You kept pushing your needs aside until you barely recognized them anymore. The things that once brought you joy started feeling distant. The version of you that laughed freely, trusted easily, and felt deeply became buried underneath years of tension and emotional strain. Come sit with me honestly now, and stop pretending you never felt yourself slipping away. You noticed it in the quiet moments. You felt it when life became more about surviving than truly living. You looked at yourself sometimes and wondered where your energy, softness, and peace had gone. Yet instead of slowing down, you pushed harder because stopping felt unsafe. You thought if you stayed busy enough, you would not have to face how disconnected you had become from your own soul. My child, losing yourself rarely happens through one dramatic moment. It happens through countless smaller compromises against your inner life. You stayed too long in environments that drained you. You tolerated emotional wounds you never properly healed from. You learned how to appear functional while inwardly carrying mountain-sized exhaustion. Little by little, survival became your identity instead of simply a season you were passing through. Do not shame yourself for that now. You were trying to endure pain while still moving forward. But I need you to stop abandoning yourself emotionally just because life became difficult. Come back to the parts of you that still need care, honesty, and rest. Stop treating your own soul like it must always wait until everyone else's needs are handled first. Breathe slowly and listen to what your heart hath been saying beneath all the noise. You are not weak for feeling tired. You are not failing because you need restoration. Let yourself grieve the parts of you that became buried beneath stress and emotional survival. And let yourself believe those parts are not permanently lost. I am calling you back to yourself now, my child. Not to the naive version of you untouched by pain, but to the honest version still capable of peace, softness, love, and life beyond endless survival mode. Stop running from that invitation. Sit here and receive it. My child, there are countless people losing themselves quietly just as you once did, buried beneath survival, exhaustion, and invisible pressure. I am raising this message like a trumpet in the night to call my children back to life, back to peace, and back to me. When you support this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you become part of the river I am sending into dry and weary souls. Did I not say I will restore the years the locust has eaten? I am still restoring broken hearts, lost identity, and weary spirits even now. Your generosity is not small in my eyes. It becomes fuel for the fire of healing that reaches people sitting alone, wondering if anyone still sees them. I will honor those who respond when I place compassion upon their hearts, and I will release favor upon the hands that help carry my word across the earth. This is your moment to stop watching from a distance and step into the work I am doing. Act now, so faithfully, and help me reach the souls who are desperate to find themselves again before the night grows heavier. My child, one of the heaviest feelings you carry is the loneliness that follows you even when people surround you. That loneliness confuses you because your life is not completely empty of conversation, responsibilities, or relationships. You still answer messages. You still sit beside people. You still participate in daily life. Yet deep inside, there are moments when you feel emotionally invisible, as though nobody fully sees the real version of you beneath the surface. I know how exhausting that becomes. You learned how to give people the version of yourself that feels easiest to manage. You smile when expected. You say I'm okay automatically because explaining your inner world feels too complicated and too tiring. Over time, you became skilled at maintaining connection outwardly while feeling disconnected inwardly. The more misunderstood you felt, the quieter certain parts of your heart became. Come closer now and stop carrying that loneliness silently like it is something shameful. Emotional isolation hurts deeply because humans were never created to feel unseen while standing in the middle of relationships. Some of your loneliness does not come from being physically alone. It comes from feeling unable to fully share your burdens without fearing judgment, rejection, or misunderstanding. You became careful with your honesty because life taught you that vulnerability is not always handled gently. I watched you slowly build emotional walls while convincing yourself they were protection. Part of you still longs for connection that feels safe enough to let your guard down completely. You want to be known without needing to perform strength every moment. You want conversations where your soul can exhale instead of constantly filtering itself. Yet fear keeps whispering that nobody would truly understand what you carry inside. Do not believe that lie forever, my child. Your heart was not designed to stay locked behind emotional armor indefinitely. Stop isolating yourself inwardly while pretending you are fully present outwardly. Sit honestly with your loneliness instead of drowning it immediately with distractions, busyness, or surface-level interactions. Let yourself admit that you miss feeling deeply connected, understood, and emotionally safe. I am here with you in those quiet moments when the loneliness feels sharpest. I hear the thoughts you never say aloud. I notice the heaviness behind your silence. You do not need to earn the right to be comforted. You do not need to prove your pain is serious enough before bringing it into the light. Take a breath now and let your guarded heart soften slightly. Stop assuming you must carry every emotional burden privately forever. Invite honesty back into your life one small step at a time. Real connection begins when you stop hiding your soul behind constant self-protection. My child, you have carried a quiet pressure for so long that it almost feels normal now. Every day you step into conversations, responsibilities, routines, and expectations while hiding how heavy your heart actually feels underneath everything. You learned how to smile at the right moments, how to answer questions without revealing too much, how to keep moving even when your spirit feels exhausted. Most people around you have no idea how much energy it takes for you just to appear okay. I know the reason you started pretending. At some point, you became tired of explaining your pain only to feel misunderstood afterward. You opened your heart before and felt dismissed. You tried being honest and sensed discomfort in people who did not know how to hold your vulnerability gently. So you slowly began carrying your struggles privately instead. It felt easier to say "I'm fine" than to describe the storm happening quietly inside you. Come sit with me honestly now, and stop forcing yourself to perform strength every moment. You do not need to impress me with how well you hide your pain. I already see the exhaustion behind your eyes. I notice how your mind rarely fully rests. I see the emotional tension living in your body even during ordinary moments. You have become so accustomed to functioning while wounded that you barely remember what emotional safety feels like anymore. Pretending to be fine has cost you more than you realize, my child. It has isolated you from deeper connection. It has trained your heart to suppress emotions instead of processing them. It has convinced you that your struggles are burdens better hidden than shared honestly. But hidden pain does not disappear. It settles deeper into the soul and quietly drains your peace over time. Stop carrying yourself like someone who must earn rest by suffering silently. Put down the pressure to always appear composed. Let your breathing slow down for a moment. Admit where you feel tired instead of instantly covering it with distraction or forced positivity. Real healing cannot grow inside a life built entirely on emotional performance. You are allowed to need comfort. You are allowed to feel overwhelmed sometimes. You are allowed to acknowledge that parts of you feel fragile instead of endlessly pretending everything is manageable. Come closer and let yourself exist without the mask for a while. I am not uncomfortable with your honesty. My child, there is relief waiting for you on the other side of emotional truthfulness. Not dramatic perfection. Not instant transformation. Just the simple freedom of no longer carrying your pain completely alone. So stop rehearsing the version of yourself you think everyone expects to see. Bring me the real version instead. The tired version. The uncertain version. The version that quietly needs peace more than appearances. My child, there is a memory you still return to when everything becomes quiet enough. You may not speak about it often anymore, but it still lives somewhere deep inside your heart. Certain moments trigger it unexpectedly. A song, a conversation, a familiar place, even a particular silence can suddenly pull you back into emotions you thought you had already buried. You try to move forward, yet part of your spirit still lingers around something that changed you deeply. I know how carefully you avoid touching that memory directly. You distract yourself quickly whenever it rises too close to the surface because you are afraid of what you might feel if you sit with it too honestly. Sometimes you replay the situation repeatedly, wondering whether things could have ended differently if you had said something else, chosen differently, trusted less, or held on longer. Other times you avoid thinking about it entirely because the weight of it still hurts more than you want to admit. Come closer now and stop carrying that pain alone in silence. Stop treating your wounded heart like something that must stay hidden forever. I know that memories shape parts of you. I know it affected the way you trust, the way you protect yourself, the way you approach love, vulnerability, and even your own future. Some losses do not simply disappear because time passes. They leave emotional fingerprints behind. You became more guarded afterward, didn't you? More cautious with your emotions. More careful about letting people close enough to truly affect you. Part of you still fears experiencing that kind of hurt again. So now you analyze everything, hold parts of yourself back, and quietly prepare for disappointment before it even arrives. I understand why you learned those habits. Pain taught you to protect your heart before anyone else could wound it again. But listen carefully to me now, my child. That memory does not deserve permanent control over your spirit. Stop returning to it only through regret, shame, or self-blame. Bring it into the light with me instead of carrying it alone in dark corners of your mind. Let yourself feel what still needs healing instead of suppressing it every time it surfaces. Breathe slowly and allow your heart to loosen its grip around the past for a moment. You survived what hurt you, but surviving is not the same as healing. I am inviting you towards something deeper now. Release the exhausting need to mentally relive old pain as though it can somehow change the outcome. Come sit with me honestly, my child. Let your soul rest from carrying yesterday's wounds into every tomorrow. That memory may always exist, but it does not have to define the rest of your life. My child, there is a part of you that still quietly hopes everything will suddenly become easier one morning. You imagine waking up without heaviness sitting on your chest. You imagine your thoughts becoming calm, your wounds no longer affecting you, your fears disappearing overnight like darkness chased away by sunlight. I know why you long for that kind of instant change. You are tired. Your heart has carried pressure for so long that you crave relief the way someone lost in a desert craves water. But listen carefully to me now. Healing rarely arrives like lightning splitting the sky in a single dramatic moment. More often, it begins quietly, almost gently, through small choices your soul makes day after day. You keep waiting for transformation to happen to you while avoiding the slower process happening within you. You want peace, but part of you still clings tightly to the habits, fears, and emotional patterns that keep draining your spirit. Come sit honestly with me and stop rushing your own restoration. Stop expecting yourself to become completely whole overnight after years of exhaustion, grief, disappointment, and silent battles. Your heart is not a machine that instantly resets itself. It heals gradually through honesty, patience, surrender, and truth allowed to settle deeply over time. You have spent so long surviving quickly that slow healing now feels frustrating to you. I know you become discouraged when progress feels invisible. You wonder why certain wounds still affect you. You question why some fears continue returning even after moments where you felt stronger. But healing is not always dramatic, my child. Sometimes it looks like choosing not to numb yourself today. Sometimes it looks like resting instead of overworking your spirit into exhaustion. Sometimes it looks like allowing yourself to feel honestly instead of hiding behind distractions. Stop measuring your growth only through instant emotional breakthroughs. Pay attention to the quieter changes happening inside you. Notice how your heart is becoming more honest. Notice how your soul is beginning to recognize what truly drains you. Notice how you are finally slowing down enough to hear your inner life again instead of constantly outrunning it. Do not give up on yourself because healing feels slower than you expected. Seeds planted beneath the ground do not appear lifeless simply because growth remains unseen for a season. Your soul is learning how to breathe again beneath years of pressure and emotional strain. Be patient with that process. Come closer now and release the pressure to fix everything tonight. Let your heart rest from striving. Stop demanding immediate perfection from yourself. Real peace grows steadily, not violently. It enters quietly through surrender, honesty, gentleness, and trust rebuilt over time. Stay here with me and allow your healing to unfold naturally instead of forcing yourself toward impossible overnight transformation. My child, Do not overlook the quiet ways I move through simple acts of obedience, because great harvests often begin with seeds that seem small in human eyes. The healing I spoke over you is the same healing I desire to pour into thousands of weary hearts through this mission. Every time you give through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you help keep rivers of truth flowing into people trapped in fear, exhaustion, and hopelessness. I told you that transformation does not always arrive like lightning. Sometimes it grows steadily like seeds beneath the soil preparing for their appointed season. In the same way, your giving becomes hidden rain watering lives you may never fully see until eternity reveals what your obedience helped accomplish. I am breathing on every cheerful giver in this hour, multiplying provision, protecting what concerns you, and opening doors no enemy can shut. Do not allow hesitation to silence what I am placing on your heart right now, because this moment carries purpose beyond what you can presently understand. Move quickly, my child. Sow your seed today. Support this mission boldly, and help my voice reach the ones still waiting for hope to break through their darkness. My child, you have spent so much time searching for peace that you almost forgot what real peace actually feels like. Somewhere along the way, you began confusing peace with constant happiness, emotional excitement, or a life completely free from difficulty. So whenever problems appeared again, you assumed peace had disappeared too. But true peace is deeper than temporary feelings. It does not depend on perfect circumstances surrounding you every moment. I want you to understand this carefully now. Peace is not pretending nothing hurts. Peace is not emotional numbness. Peace is not forcing yourself to stay positive while your heart quietly collapses underneath pressure. Real peace feels steady. It feels like your soul finally unclenching after carrying tension for too long. It feels like breathing deeply without constantly bracing yourself for disaster. It feels like inner quiet returning after years of mental noise shouting over everything else. Come closer and let yourself imagine that kind of rest for a moment. Imagine waking up without immediately feeling dread race through your chest. Imagine being able to sit still without needing constant distraction just to escape your thoughts. Imagine your heart no longer carrying every burden, as though the entire world depends on your ability to hold yourself together perfectly. That is the direction peace begins moving you toward. I know you are tired of survival mode, my child. You became so accustomed to anxiety, emotional tension, and mental exhaustion that calmness now feels unfamiliar sometimes. Part of you even distrusts peaceful moments because life trained you to expect pain immediately afterward. So you stay emotionally guarded, preparing for worst-case scenarios before they even happen. But constant fear is not wisdom. It is exhaustion wearing armor. Sit with me honestly now, and allow your spirit to soften slightly. Stop gripping every worry so tightly. Stop rehearsing future disasters inside your mind before tomorrow even arrives. Your soul cannot rest while your thoughts remain trapped in endless fear and self-protection. Peace requires surrendering the exhausting belief that you must control everything in order to feel safe. Real peace often enters quietly, my child. It comes through stillness, honesty, trust, and the gradual release of burdens you were never meant to carry alone. It does not always remove every storm immediately, but it steadies your heart within them. It reminds you that your life is more than constant emotional survival. So breathe slowly now. Let your shoulders relax. Let your racing thoughts settle for a moment instead of feeding them more fear. Invite peace into the deeper parts of your heart instead of only searching for temporary relief on the surface. Your soul has been longing for something gentler than the endless tension you have learned to call normal. My child, there is a reason you feel stuck between wanting change and fearing it at the same time. Deep inside, you already know there is a door in front of you that your soul keeps returning to. You feel it during quiet moments when your heart grows tired of surviving the same emotional patterns repeatedly. You sense it when distractions stop working and honesty begins pressing against your spirit again. Part of you longs to walk forward into something healthier, freer, and more peaceful. Yet another part of you keeps hesitating at the threshold because stepping through that door would require you to release familiar pain, familiar fear, and familiar ways of protecting yourself. I understand why you hesitate. Even suffering can become strangely comfortable when it is familiar enough. You learned how to survive within certain emotional walls. You adapted to carrying anxiety, tension, loneliness, and guardedness like heavy bags strapped permanently to your shoulders. The thought of putting those burdens down almost feels unfamiliar now. Sometimes healing feels frightening simply because it asks you to become open again after life taught you to stay guarded. Come closer now and stop standing outside the door while convincing yourself you are waiting for the perfect moment. You keep telling yourself that eventually you will trust again, eventually you will rest, eventually you will allow yourself to heal. But your soul has already been waiting long enough. Stop pacing outside the life your heart truly needs while fear keeps negotiating with your future. This door is not demanding perfection from you, my child. It is inviting honesty. It is asking you to admit that your current way of carrying pain is exhausting you. It is asking you to loosen your grip on survival mode long enough to let peace enter your inner world gradually. You do not need to have every answer before taking one honest step forward. I know you fear disappointment. I know part of you worries that opening your heart again could lead to more pain. But staying trapped behind emotional walls is already hurting you slowly. Isolation may feel safer temporarily, yet it quietly steals joy, connection, and rest from your spirit over time. So stop standing at the threshold while your soul keeps whispering for something deeper. Reach for the door instead of staring at it from a distance. Let yourself believe healing is possible even if it arrives gradually. You do not need dramatic certainty before moving forward. You simply need willingness. Take a breath now and release the pressure to control every outcome. Put your hand on the door instead of retreating again into fear and numbness. I am not pushing you harshly, my child. I am inviting you gently toward the life your spirit has been longing for beneath all the exhaustion. Walk forward slowly if you must, but stop convincing yourself the doorway to peace was never meant for you. My child, one of the deepest struggles inside your heart is the quiet belief that you must earn love by being useful, strong, dependable, or emotionally easy for others to handle. Somewhere along your journey, you began measuring your worth through what you provide instead of simply understanding your value as a person. That belief exhausted your spirit more than you realize. It taught you to hide your pain, minimize your needs, and carry emotional burdens privately because you feared becoming too much for people around you. But come closer now and listen carefully to me. You are more loved than you have allowed yourself to believe. Not because you always say the right things. Not because you carry responsibilities perfectly. Not because you appear strong while secretly struggling. Your worth does not rise and fall according to your productivity, emotional performance, or ability to survive pain quietly. I know how difficult it is for you to fully accept love without conditions attached. Life taught you to expect disappointment eventually. Some people only stayed close while you were useful to them. Others misunderstood your heart completely. You experienced affection that disappeared the moment you became emotionally inconvenient. So now part of you remains cautious even when care is offered sincerely. You wait for rejection almost automatically because your heart learned to protect itself before anyone else could wound it again. Stop carrying that fear everywhere, my child. Stop assuming your value depends on how little space you take up emotionally. You were never created to apologize for having a heart that needs comfort, rest, honesty, and connection. Real love does not require you to erase yourself in order to deserve care. Sit with me here and let this truth settle deeper than your self-doubt for once. I have seen every hidden part of you and still draw near with tenderness instead of rejection. I know the thoughts you rarely speak aloud. I know the exhaustion beneath your smile. I know how hard you have tried to hold yourself together during seasons when you secretly felt like collapsing inwardly. Yet none of that made you less worthy of love. Take a breath and stop speaking to yourself with such cruelty. Stop treating your flaws like proof that you are difficult to love. You are not loved merely for the polished parts of your personality. You are loved in your uncertainty, your weariness, your healing process, your questions, and your fragile moments too. Open your heart slowly now instead of immediately resisting this truth. Let yourself receive care without suspicion for a moment. Let yourself believe you do not need to earn rest by suffering endlessly first. My child, your value has never depended on your perfection. You were worthy of love long before you learned how to hide your pain behind strength. My child, somewhere along your journey, you learned a version of strength that slowly began hurting your spirit instead of protecting it. You were taught that being strong meant staying silent about your pain, continuing forward no matter how exhausted you felt, and handling every emotional burden alone without letting anyone see you struggle. At first, that mindset probably helped you survive difficult seasons. You became dependable. You learned how to function under pressure. You pushed your emotions aside because life demanded that you keep moving. But over time, survival started replacing honesty, and what once looked like strength slowly became emotional isolation. I watched you carry yourself like someone who could never afford to fall apart. You became careful about showing vulnerability because previous experiences taught you that openness sometimes leads to disappointment or misunderstanding. So you tightened your grip on yourself. You controlled your emotions. You swallowed your tears quickly. You convinced yourself that needing comfort made you weak. Yet all the while, your soul kept growing more exhausted underneath the weight you refused to put down. Come sit with me honestly now and stop confusing emotional suppression with maturity. Real strength is not pretending pain does not affect you. Real strength is not smiling while your spirit quietly collapses inwardly. Strength becomes unhealthy when it forces your heart into constant self-protection until you no longer know how to rest emotionally. You were never meant to carry every burden silently, my child. I know why you became this way. You adapted to survive difficult environments. You learned how to appear calm while anxiety moved through your thoughts constantly. You learned how to comfort others while neglecting your own wounds. You became the strong one because people relied on you, but somewhere underneath all of that responsibility, your own heart began feeling unseen. Stop demanding endless toughness from yourself. Stop treating your emotions like enemies that must always stay controlled and hidden. Your sensitivity is not weakness. Your exhaustion is not failure. Your need for peace, connection, and support does not make you fragile. It makes you human. Take a breath now and let your guard soften slightly. Allow yourself to acknowledge where you feel overwhelmed instead of instantly pushing those feelings aside again. You do not need to earn rest by suffering quietly. You do not need to perform strength every second to deserve love and care. Come closer, my child. Lay down the false version of strength that taught you to abandon your own emotional needs. I am inviting you into something healthier now. Let honesty become stronger than performance. Let gentleness replace constant self-protection. Let your heart finally admit it hath been tired for a very long time. My child, as you begin laying down this false version of strength, do not ignore the assignment I am placing before you now. There are weary souls wandering through darkness who are still pretending to be strong while silently collapsing inside, just as you once did. Every super thanks, every membership, and every PayPal seed placed into this mission becomes oil for the lamp that keeps my word reaching hearts that are desperate for healing. I tell you even now, those who sow in tears shall reap with songs of joy, and your generosity is becoming part of that harvest. This is not merely support for a video. It is bread multiplied in my hands to feed wounded spirits across the earth. I see every giver who responds with obedience, and I will breathe favor, provision, and unexpected peace over the house that honors me through generosity. Do not overlook this holy moment, for I am calling willing hearts to help carry this message further while the world grows heavier with exhaustion and fear. Sow your seed now through Super Thanks. Become a member, or give through the PayPal link in the description, and let your offering become light for someone still trapped in emotional darkness. My child, you have been carrying far more than anyone around you fully realizes. Some of those burdens are visible through your responsibilities and daily pressures, but many of them exist quietly inside your heart where nobody else can see them. You carry worries you rarely speak aloud. You carry disappointments you never fully processed. You carry emotional weight from years of trying to stay strong while secretly feeling exhausted underneath everything. Over time, you became so accustomed to handling life alone that you almost forgot what it feels like to truly let someone stand beside you emotionally. I know why you started carrying everything privately. At some point, asking for support felt unsafe. Maybe people disappointed you. Maybe your vulnerability was ignored or misunderstood. Maybe life forced you into survival mode so quickly that independence became your emotional armor. You learned how to rely only on yourself because depending on others felt uncertain. But my child, self-protection slowly became isolation, and isolation has been draining your spirit far more than you admit. Come sit with me honestly now, and stop pretending you are unaffected by the weight you carry. Your soul was never designed to hold endless pressure without rest, comfort, or connection. Yet you keep piling more onto yourself while telling everyone around you that you are fine. You wake up already mentally preparing for responsibilities before your heart even has a chance to breathe. Your mind rarely rests because you feel responsible for solving everything alone. That kind of pressure changes a person slowly. It hardens parts of the heart that once felt soft and open. It creates emotional exhaustion that follows you even during quiet moments. It teaches you to hide your struggles automatically because vulnerability now feels unfamiliar. But listen carefully to me now. Carrying everything alone is not proof of strength. Sometimes it is proof that your heart stopped believing it was safe to lean on anyone else. Stop isolating yourself inwardly, my child. Stop assuming you must hold your entire world together without support. You do not need to prove your worth through endless endurance. Put some of the weight down here with me for a moment. Release the pressure to constantly manage every fear, every future outcome, every emotional burden by yourself. Take a slow breath and allow your shoulders to relax. Let yourself feel the exhaustion you keep suppressing beneath busyness and responsibility. You have carried survival mode long enough. Come closer now and let your soul rest from the constant need to be strong for everyone else. You were never created to walk through life emotionally alone. Open your heart again slowly. Invite peace into the places where pressure has lived for too long. Let yourself receive support instead of endlessly proving how much pain you can survive in silence. My child, there are still moments when you quietly revisit the things that ended unexpectedly in your life. Certain relationships, plans, opportunities, or seasons collapsed in ways you did not fully understand at the time. You tried to make sense of it afterward. You searched for reasons. You blamed yourself some days and blamed others on different days. Yet beneath all your questions, there remained a deeper ache that never fully left you. You wondered, why things you cared about deeply slipped through your hands despite how hard you tried to hold them together. I know how painful those endings felt. Some of them shattered your sense of stability. Some changed the way you trust people. Some made you more cautious with your heart than you used to be. After enough losses, you started expecting disappointment before joy even had time to settle inside you. Part of you became emotionally prepared for things to fall apart because life had already shown you how quickly circumstances can change. Come sit honestly with me now and stop viewing every ending as proof that you failed. Not everything that broke apart was meant to destroy you. Some things ended because they could no longer carry the weight of who you were becoming. Some doors closed because your soul would have continued shrinking inside spaces that were draining your peace slowly. I know you fought hard to preserve certain connections and outcomes, but sometimes you were asking exhausted things to keep holding together long after they had already begun falling apart internally. That does not mean your pain was meaningless, my child. Loss still hurts even when something unhealthy ends. Grief still comes when familiar seasons disappear. Your heart became attached to people, routines, dreams, and expectations that once felt important to your life. So stop criticizing yourself for mourning what changed. Let yourself acknowledge the sadness honestly instead of pretending you were unaffected. But listen carefully to me now. Do not build your entire identity around what left you. Do not spend the rest of your life staring backward at closed doors while ignoring the possibility of healing ahead of you. Some endings protected you from futures that would have slowly exhausted your spirit even more deeply. You could not always see that while the pain was fresh, but not every loss was punishment. Take a breath and release the exhausting need to fully understand every broken season before allowing yourself to move forward. Healing does not always begin with complete answers. Sometimes it begins when you stop gripping yesterday tightly enough to prevent tomorrow from reaching you. Come closer now, my child. Let me hold the questions you still carry about what ended. Stop measuring your worth through what stayed or left. Your value did not disappear because certain things fell apart. You are still here, still breathing, still capable of peace, love, healing, and new life beyond what once broke your heart. My child, there is a reason your heart continues reacting to these words even when part of your mind tries to move past them quickly. Something inside you recognizes that this is reaching deeper than ordinary conversation. You feel it in the quiet pause that happens after certain sentences settle into your thoughts. You notice it in the way your chest tightens slightly when truth touches wounds you rarely let anyone see. That reaction is not weakness. It is your soul responding to honesty after spending too long surrounded by noise. You have become accustomed to messages that entertain you briefly without truly reaching your inner life. Most things around you demand attention for a moment and disappear just as quickly. But when something touches the deeper places inside you, your spirit responds differently. You cannot fully ignore it because your heart has been hungry for something real beneath all the distraction, pressure, and emotional exhaustion. Come closer now and stop dismissing what you feel here. Stop convincing yourself that this emotional pull is meaningless. Your spirit recognizes care when it encounters it. Your soul recognizes truth when something finally speaks directly to the exhaustion you carry privately. That is why these words linger in your mind after you finish reading them. They are reaching the parts of you that have remained unheard for a very long time. I know you hesitate to trust what you feel deeply because disappointment taught you to question everything. You became careful with hope. You became cautious about opening your heart too quickly. Yet despite your hesitation, you are still here listening. Part of you still longs for peace enough to pause and pay attention. That matters, my child. Sit here honestly with me and allow yourself to acknowledge how deeply tired your spirit has become from surface-level living. You have spent years functioning externally while inwardly craving rest, truth, connection, and emotional safety. Your heart reacts because it recognizes something familiar in these moments. It recognizes gentleness instead of pressure. It recognizes understanding instead of judgment. It recognizes an invitation toward peace instead of another demand placed upon your exhausted shoulders. Do not rush away from that feeling now. Stay present with it. Breathe slowly and let your inner walls soften slightly instead of immediately retreating back into distraction and emotional self-protection. You do not need to fully understand everything yet. You simply need to stop ignoring the parts of your soul that are trying to wake up again. My child, your reaction to this message is not accidental. Your heart still responds because deep inside you, there remains a longing for something more honest, more peaceful, and more real than the endless noise surrounding your life. Stop silencing that longing. Let it lead you closer instead of pulling away once more. My child, there were many moments in your life when you thought you were completely alone, yet you were never abandoned the way you believed. I stayed near you in ways so quiet that you always missed them. You kept expecting dramatic signs, while overlooking the smaller mercies that carried you through seasons you should not have survived emotionally. I know there were nights when your thoughts became unbearably heavy. I know there were mornings when getting out of bed already felt exhausting. Yet somehow you kept going, even when part of you had quietly begun losing hope. Look back carefully now and notice how many times things could have become far worse than they did. Certain paths closed before you walked too far into them. Certain people left before destroying parts of you completely. Certain moments interrupted your plans in ways that frustrated you then but protected you later. You called some of those moments bad timing, disappointment, or confusion. Yet many of them were quiet acts of protection you did not fully understand while living through them. Come sit with me honestly and stop assuming my presence only exists inside dramatic experiences. I was near you in the conversations that unexpectedly comforted your heart when you were ready to give up internally. I was near you in moments when something inside you whispered to keep going even though exhaustion had nearly convinced you to stop trying. I was near you in the pauses, delays, and interruptions that redirected your life when you could not see danger ahead clearly for yourself. You have survived emotional storms that should have hardened your heart completely, yet there is still softness inside you. There is still longing inside you. There is still a quiet desire for peace, truth, and connection that never fully disappeared. It alone should tell you something important. Pain touched your life deeply, but it did not entirely destroy your capacity to hope. Stop overlooking the ways I have quietly stayed beside you, my child. Stop assuming you carried yourself through every dark season completely alone. There were moments when your strength was already gone, yet something steadied you anyway. There were times you should have collapsed emotionally, but grace carried you further than your own strength could explain. Take a slow breath now and let your guarded heart consider that possibility honestly. You do not need to understand every detail yet. Simply acknowledge that your survival was not only the result of your own effort. I have been nearer than you realized during seasons where you felt forgotten. Come closer now and stop searching only for loud evidence before allowing yourself to trust my presence. Some of the deepest forms of love arrive quietly. Some of the strongest forms of protection happen unseen. Open your eyes gently, my child. You have been cared for more than you fully know. My child, if you now recognize the quiet ways I have stayed near you, then understand this also. I desire to stay near countless others through the obedience of those willing to give. There are people listening whose hearts are hanging by a thread, and these messages are becoming rivers in dry places for souls who nearly gave up. Every super thanks, every membership, and every PayPal offering placed into this work becomes a seed planted into lives you may never see this side of eternity. Did I not say I will make streams in the wasteland? I'm doing that now through willing vessels who choose to support my word going forward. This is not coincidence. This is divine timing. And your response today can become the very encouragement that keeps another soul breathing through their darkest night. I will not forget the hands that pour into my work with sincerity, for I release increase, protection, and fresh oil upon those who give with faith instead of fear. Do not wait until the moment passes and your heart grows distracted again. Act now through super thanks. Join the membership, or sow through the PayPal link in the description, and help carry my quiet mercy to those still praying for one sign to keep going. My child, there are parts of yourself you have judged harshly for years because you believe they made you weak. You criticize your sensitivity. You become frustrated by how deeply certain things affect you emotionally. You apologize for needing rest, comfort, reassurance, or time to process pain. Somewhere along your journey, you learned that strength meant becoming unaffected by life, untouched by disappointment, and emotionally self-contained at all times. But that belief hath been exhausting your spirit quietly for far too long. I want you to stop for a moment and look at yourself differently. The fact that your heart still feels deeply after everything you have survived is not weakness. The fact that certain words still move you emotionally is not failure. Your exhaustion does not make you fragile. Your need for peace does not make you incapable. What you call weakness is often simply evidence that your soul has been carrying more pain, pressure, and emotional strain than it was meant to carry alone. Come sit honestly with me now and stop punishing yourself for being human. You became afraid of your own emotions because life taught you that vulnerability could be dangerous. So now whenever your heart reacts strongly, you immediately try to suppress it, explain it away, or criticize yourself for feeling too much. Yet emotional numbness was never the goal. A hardened heart may feel protected temporarily, but it also struggles to experience genuine peace, connection, love, and healing. I know you became tired of feeling wounded by things that other people seemed able to move past quickly. But do not compare your healing process to anyone else's outward appearance. Many people hide pain behind performance just as you have done. Stop measuring your worth by how unaffected you appear externally while your inner world quietly suffers. Your sensitivity allowed you to care deeply for others. Your emotional awareness helped you recognize suffering around you. Your longing for peace reveals that your soul still desires something healthier than constant survival mode. These qualities are not enemies that need destroying. They simply need wisdom, balance, healing, and gentleness instead of shame. Take a breath now and release the pressure to become emotionally invincible. You were never created to live disconnected from your own heart. Stop calling yourself weak simply because life affected you deeply. Pain leaves marks on people, my child. That is part of being alive in a broken world. But your tenderness is not proof that you are broken beyond repair. Come closer now and let compassion replace the harshness you keep directing toward yourself. Speak to your own heart more gently. Rest without guilt. Feel without shame. Open your spirit slowly instead of forcing yourself into constant emotional armor. What you have been calling weakness may actually be the exhausted cry of a soul longing to heal. My child, there is something happening inside you that cannot be ignored forever without consequences. Your soul keeps sending signals every day, but you have become skilled at silencing them quickly. You distract yourself before your thoughts become too honest. You stay busy before your emotions rise too close to the surface. You tell yourself you will deal with your inner life later, after responsibilities calm down, after life becomes easier, after you feel stronger. But your heart has already been waiting a very long time for your attention. I need you to listen carefully now. A soul cannot stay disconnected from itself indefinitely without slowly becoming exhausted, hardened, and emotionally distant. That process rarely looks dramatic at first. It begins quietly through constant suppression, endless distraction, and emotional avoidance. Little by little, you stop noticing what you truly feel. You move through life automatically instead of intentionally. Joy becomes harder to access. Peace feels unfamiliar. Relationships begin feeling shallow because you no longer know how to fully show up emotionally yourself. Come sit honestly with me now, and stop running from your inner world every time discomfort appears. Your soul was never designed to survive only on productivity, entertainment, routine, and external performance. Yet that is how you have been living for far too long. You keep feeding every visible part of your life while your inner self quietly starves for truth, rest, connection, and healing. I know why you avoid slowing down. You fear what honesty might reveal. You worry that if you finally listen deeply to your own heart, unresolved grief, loneliness, regret, and exhaustion will rise all at once. But ignoring those things has not healed them, my child. It has only buried them deeper where they continue shaping your thoughts and emotions silently. Stop treating your soul like an inconvenience that must always wait until everything else is handled first. Pause here and breathe slowly. Let yourself notice how tired your inner life has become beneath all the noise. You were never created to live emotionally disconnected while pretending you are completely fine. There is danger in continuing that pattern forever because eventually numbness begins replacing genuine connection, and survival mode starts feeling normal. But listen carefully to me now. It is not too late to come back to yourself. It is not too late to reconnect with the deeper parts of your heart that have been neglected for years. Start listening again. Start paying attention to what your spirit has been trying to tell you beneath all the distractions. Come closer, my child. Turn inward gently instead of fleeing from yourself again. Let honesty return. Let stillness return. Let your soul breathe before exhaustion hardens your heart further. You do not need to keep surviving disconnected from your own inner life. Peace is still possible, but you must stop ignoring the quiet voice inside you asking for help. My child, there is a version of yourself you quietly miss sometimes. You rarely talk about it directly, but I know you feel it during certain moments when memories rise unexpectedly. You remember a time when your heart felt lighter, more open, more hopeful than it does now. Before life became so heavy. Before survival replaced wonder. Before disappointment taught you to guard yourself so carefully. Somewhere along the way, you began grieving parts of yourself that slowly disappeared beneath stress, heartbreak, pressure, and emotional exhaustion. You miss the version of you that laughed more freely without constantly carrying tension underneath. You miss the version of you that trusted more easily before fear and disappointment made you cautious. You miss the part of yourself that believed life could still hold beauty without immediately expecting pain afterward. I know you sometimes look at your current life and quietly wonder when exactly that softer version of you began fading into the background. Come sit honestly with me now and stop pretending you do not feel that loss. Your soul remembers what it felt like to be emotionally present instead of constantly overwhelmed. You remember what it was like to experience peace without immediately waiting for something to ruin it. But over time, pressure changed you. Responsibilities piled up. Certain wounds stayed open too long. Survival became more important than joy. Little by little, the younger version of your heart retreated inward to protect itself. My child, I do not want you trapped in endless nostalgia. But I also do not want you believing those beautiful parts of yourself are gone forever. Pain may have buried them beneath exhaustion, but it did not completely destroy them. Your tenderness still exists underneath. The armor. Your ability to hope still exists beneath the disappointment. Your desire for connection, peace, and truth still lives quietly inside you no matter how long survival mode has lasted. Stop speaking about yourself like you are permanently ruined because life became difficult. You adapted to painful seasons the best way you knew how. But now I am inviting you into something gentler than constant emotional defense. Come closer and allow your guarded heart to soften gradually. Let yourself reconnect with the parts of you that still long to feel alive instead of merely functional. Take a slow breath and stop believing exhaustion is your permanent identity. You are more than the survival version of yourself. You are more than your wounds, your stress, your fears, and your disappointments. Come back to yourself slowly, my child. Not backward into the past, but forward into healing where your heart can breathe again without carrying so much hidden weight every single day. My child, one of the reasons you keep struggling with healing is because healing does not always feel comforting in the beginning. You expected peace to arrive instantly once you started facing your inner life honestly. You thought letting yourself slow down would immediately remove the heaviness inside you. But instead, certain emotions became louder. Certain memories surfaced again. Certain truths about your exhaustion, loneliness, and pain became harder to ignore once distractions stopped covering them constantly. That frightened you because you assumed discomfort meant you were doing something wrong. Listen carefully to me now. Healing often feels unfamiliar before it feels peaceful. Your heart spent years adapting to survival mode. You became accustomed to tension, emotional suppression, and constant self-protection. Those patterns may have exhausted you, but they also became familiar to your nervous system and your mind. So when you begin opening your heart again, honesty can feel uncomfortable at first because your soul is stepping out of patterns it learned to depend on. Come closer now, and stop running away every time healing asks you to feel something deeply. Stop expecting restoration without honesty. You cannot heal wounds you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot reconnect with yourself while constantly numbing your emotions the moment they become uncomfortable. Your soul needs gentleness, patience, and truth, not endless avoidance disguised as strength. I know there are moments when you feel tempted to retreat backward into distraction because facing your inner world feels overwhelming. You wonder whether it would be easier to simply continue functioning the way you always have. But deep inside, you already know that endless survival is draining the life from your spirit slowly. That is why your heart keeps returning to these deeper conversations despite your fear. Healing asks you to sit with emotions you spent years pushing aside. It asks you to acknowledge grief you never fully processed. It asks you to notice how exhausted you became while pretending to be okay. That process can feel vulnerable and messy because you are finally becoming honest with yourself instead of constantly performing emotional control. But do not lose heart now, my child. Discomfort is not proof that healing is failing. Sometimes it is evidence that numbness is finally breaking apart. Sometimes it is the sign that your soul is waking up after a long season of emotional silence. Stay present instead of escaping immediately. Breathe through the discomfort instead of fearing it. Come sit quietly with me and let your heart soften gradually. Stop demanding instant perfection from yourself. Healing is not punishment. It is restoration unfolding layer by layer inside places that carried pain for far too long. Be patient with your soul while it learns how to live beyond survival mode again. My child, now that you understand healing often begins in discomfort, do not ignore the deeper invitation standing before you in this moment. There are broken hearts everywhere trying to escape their pain through distraction because no one has shown them the path toward restoration and truth. Every super thanks, every membership, and every PayPal donation becomes living water poured into places where wounded souls are thirsting for hope again. I am calling my people to become sowers in a generation drowning in emotional exhaustion. and your obedience can help keep this healing message reaching those silently battling despair. Did I not say, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it? Your giving becomes part of that light, pushing back against hopelessness, one soul at a time. Those who pour into my work will not sow into empty ground, for I will multiply what is released in faith and surround the giver with peace, provision, and open doors prepared by my hand. This is not a random request. It is a spiritual appointment unfolding right now while hearts are waking up from years of numbness. So do not hesitate, my child. Give through Super Thanks. Become a member, or sow through the PayPal link in the description, and help carry healing where silence has ruled for too long. My child, there is a conversation you have been postponing for a very long time. Not because you do not care, but because you are afraid of what honesty might uncover once your heart finally becomes still enough to speak openly. You stay busy, distracted, mentally occupied, emotionally guarded, because part of you knows there are things inside you that need to be brought into the light. Yet every time the opportunity comes, you quietly retreat again into noise and routine instead of sitting with me honestly. I know why you hesitate. You think you need perfect words before approaching me. You think you must somehow fix yourself first, become stronger first, become less confused first. But my child, I was never waiting for polished performances from you. I have always wanted your honesty more than your perfection. I already know the thoughts you struggled to admit aloud. I already see the fears, disappointments, shame, exhaustion, and loneliness you carry beneath your outward life. Come closer now and stop hiding behind emotional distance. Stop speaking to me only through rehearsed thoughts while keeping your real heart locked away. I do not want a performance from you. I want the truth. I want the tired version of you that no longer knows how to carry everything alone. I want the part of you that still wonders whether peace is truly possible after all you have experienced. Bring your confusion here instead of burying it beneath distractions. You keep avoiding this conversation because you fear vulnerability. Life taught you that opening your heart can lead to pain, misunderstanding, or rejection. So now you approach even spiritual honesty cautiously. Yet withholding your true self has only deepened the loneliness inside you. Your soul cannot heal while constantly hiding behind emotional walls. Sit quietly with me now and stop trying to manage your image for a moment. You do not need to impress me with strength. You do not need to explain away your wounds or pretend your faith never struggled. Tell me honestly where you feel tired. Tell me where you feel angry, disappointed, uncertain, or emotionally numb. Open the places inside you that have remained closed for too long. This conversation is not about condemnation, my child. It is about connection. It is about finally allowing your soul to be fully seen instead of endlessly edited and protected. Real healing begins when you stop hiding from the one who already knows every hidden part of your heart completely. So stay here a little longer. Put down your defenses. Let your breathing slow. Speak honestly instead of perfectly. I have been waiting patiently for your real heart, not the version you think you are supposed to present. My child, for a long time you have misunderstood what it truly means to come back to me. You thought it required becoming flawless first. You believed you needed to clean up every struggle, silence every doubt, and somehow transform yourself completely before you could approach me honestly again. That belief kept you distant because the weight of perfection always feels impossible when your heart is already exhausted. So instead of drawing near, you stayed hidden behind guilt, distraction, and emotional distance. But listen carefully to me now. Coming back to me was never about performance. It was never about pretending your wounds do not exist. I am not asking you to arrive polished and emotionally untouched. I am asking you to arrive honestly. Bring your tiredness, Bring your confusion. Bring the parts of you that still feel uncertain, fragile, and overwhelmed. Stop waiting until you become good enough before allowing yourself to come closer. I already know every hidden corner of your heart, my child. I know the thoughts you struggle with privately. I know the moments where disappointment hardened parts of you. I know how many times you felt emotionally distant and quietly wondered whether you had drifted too far away. Yet none of that changed my desire to draw near to you. You are not returning to rejection. You are returning to love that already understands your weakness completely. Come sit with me honestly now instead of trying to manage your image. Stop rehearsing spiritual performances while your real heart stays hidden underneath them. I do not need empty appearances from you. I want truth. I want openness. I want the version of you that no longer has the energy to keep pretending everything is fine. You fear vulnerability because life taught you to protect yourself carefully. But keeping your soul locked behind emotional walls has only deepened the exhaustion inside you. Real connection cannot grow where honesty is constantly withheld. Let your guard lower slowly. Breathe deeply. Speak openly instead of perfectly. Coming back to me means allowing your heart to stop running. It means releasing the exhausting pressure to hold yourself together without help. It means letting yourself be fully seen instead of endlessly edited. You do not need dramatic words tonight, my child. You simply need willingness. Willingness to listen. Willingness to soften. Willingness to stop hiding behind distractions long enough to let your soul breathe honestly again. So come closer now. Bring the mess, the questions, the weariness, and the longing you keep carrying privately. Stop believing you must transform yourself before approaching me. Healing begins through connection, not performance. You are not being asked to become perfect overnight. You are being invited to stop standing emotionally distant from the very peace your soul has been craving all along. My child, you keep expecting change to arrive through one overwhelming moment that suddenly fixes everything inside you. You imagine healing as something dramatic that instantly removes every fear, every wound, every heavy thought all at once. But most real transformation begins far more quietly than that. It often starts in small moments that seem almost ordinary at first. A softened thought, a more honest conversation with yourself, a decision to stop running from your emotions, a willingness to rest instead of endlessly forcing yourself forward. I know part of you becomes discouraged because progress feels slow sometimes. You wonder why certain struggles still return. You question whether anything is truly changing beneath the surface. But listen carefully now, my child. Quiet change is still real change. Just because healing unfolds gradually does not mean it is absent. Some of the deepest restoration happens silently while your soul slowly learns how to live differently than it has for years. Come sit with me and pay attention to the subtle shifts already happening inside you. You are becoming more aware of what drains your spirit. You are beginning to recognize the emotional patterns that kept exhausting you. You are learning how to pause before automatically numbing yourself with distraction again. Those moments matter deeply even if they do not look dramatic outwardly. Stop overlooking the small ways your heart is already waking up. You are listening more honestly now. You are allowing certain walls to soften slightly. You are finally admitting where you feel tired instead of endlessly pretending you are unaffected. Healing often begins through those quiet decisions repeated consistently over time. My child, seeds grow beneath the ground long before visible fruit appears above the surface. In the same way, your soul is changing in places you cannot fully measure yet. Be patient with that process. Stop demanding instant perfection from yourself. Growth becomes unhealthy when it is rushed through fear and self-pressure instead of nurtured through honesty, gentleness, and trust. Take a slow breath now and release the frustration that whispers nothing is happening unless everything changes immediately. Your heart has carried years of exhaustion, grief, fear, and emotional survival. Restoration will unfold layer by layer, not through violence against yourself. Let the quieter work continue. Come closer and stay present with me instead of retreating back into hopelessness. Notice the small moments where peace feels possible again. Notice the growing desire inside you for truth instead of distraction. Notice the ways your spirit longs for rest instead of endless striving. Those are signs of life returning, my child. Quiet change may not impress the world quickly, but it has the power to rebuild your soul from the inside outward. My child, stop for a moment and listen carefully to me without rushing ahead in your thoughts. There is something your heart needs to understand right now more than ever before. You are not failing simply because you feel tired. You are not broken beyond repair because life became heavier than you expected. You are not weak because certain wounds still affect you deeply even after all this time. I know you have spent years criticizing yourself for struggling internally while trying to survive externally, but I need you to stop measuring your worth through the lens of exhaustion and pain. You have been carrying pressure for so long that you barely remember what it feels like to exist without tension constantly sitting inside your chest. You wake up preparing yourself emotionally before the day even begins. You brace for disappointment before joy has a chance to settle fully. You analyze your own emotions harshly instead of responding to yourself with compassion. My child, your soul cannot heal in an environment where you constantly treat yourself like a problem to solve instead of a heart that needs care. Come closer now and stop fighting yourself so aggressively. Stop assuming every difficult emotion means you are failing spiritually, emotionally, or personally. Sometimes your exhaustion is simply the result of carrying too much for too long without enough rest, honesty, and gentleness. You were never created to live in endless survival mode while pretending everything feels manageable inside. I need you to understand that peace cannot grow where self-condemnation constantly speaks louder than grace. You keep demanding immediate perfection from yourself while ignoring how deeply tired your spirit has become. You expect yourself to function flawlessly despite wounds that still need healing. Then you become frustrated when your heart struggles under all that pressure. But healing requires patience, my child. Restoration unfolds through honesty and softness, not through constant internal punishment. Sit quietly with me now and let your breathing slow down. Release the exhausting pressure to always have everything figured out immediately. Stop rehearsing every fear about the future before tomorrow even arrives. Let yourself admit where you need help instead of automatically retreating behind emotional independence again. You do not need to earn my care through endless striving. You do not need to prove your worth by surviving pain silently. I'm asking you to stop resisting the gentleness your soul had been longing for all along. Open your heart slowly instead of holding it tightly shut through fear and exhaustion. Listen carefully now, my child. You are still deeply loved even in your weariness. You are still worthy of peace even while healing. You are still being called toward life, rest, honesty, and restoration despite every painful season you have endured. Do not forget that truth again. My child, as you finally release the pressure to condemn yourself endlessly, hear me clearly now. There are others still trapped inside that same prison of exhaustion and hidden pain. I am raising voices to remind the weary that they are still loved, still seen, and still worthy of peace, and this mission is part of that calling. Every super thanks, every membership, and every PayPal seed helps spread my word like fire across hearts that have nearly forgotten hope exists. I said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." And through your generosity, that invitation keeps reaching souls standing at the edge of surrendering to despair. Do not underestimate what happens when you place your resources into something eternal, because heaven notices every act of obedience done with a willing heart. I will bless those who choose to build where healing flows, and I will pour back encouragement, protection, and supernatural favor into the lives of faithful givers. The enemy wants people isolated, exhausted, and emotionally numb, but your support helps keep light shining into those dark places. Therefore, move now without delay. Send your super thanks, join the membership, or give through the PayPal link in the description, and become part of the restoration I am releasing in this hour. My child, the word surrender still makes part of your heart uncomfortable because you associate it with loss. You imagine surrender as giving up control and falling into uncertainty without protection. That fear has kept you gripping tightly to burdens you were never meant to carry alone. You keep trying to manage every possible outcome, every fear, every emotional wound, every future problem before it even happens. Yet despite all your effort, your soul remains exhausted because control cannot create the peace your heart truly needs. Come sit honestly with me now and listen carefully. Surrender is not destruction. It is relief. It is the moment your soul finally stops fighting to carry impossible weight by itself. You have been living like someone standing in deep water, desperately trying to hold every burden above the surface, while slowly exhausting yourself emotionally. No wonder you feel tired all the time. Your spirit was never designed to survive through constant self-protection and pressure forever. I know why surrender frightens you. Life taught you that letting go sometimes led to disappointment, pain, or instability. So now you cling tightly to control because it feels safer than vulnerability. But my child, holding everything tightly has not protected your peace. It has only deepened your anxiety, tension, and exhaustion over time. Stop resisting rest as though it is dangerous. Stop treating vulnerability like weakness. Surrender does not mean becoming passive or careless. It means releasing the exhausting belief that you must personally hold your entire world together every second. It means allowing your soul to breathe again instead of constantly bracing for disaster. Take a slow breath now and notice how heavy your inner world has become from carrying so much alone. Your mind rarely rests because fear keeps convincing you that if you relax, everything will collapse. But constant fear is not protecting you anymore. It is draining the life from your spirit quietly day after day. Come closer and loosen your grip gradually. Lay down the pressure to solve every future problem tonight. Release the emotional armor that has kept your heart guarded and tense for so long. Let yourself experience the relief that begins when surrender replaces endless striving. There is peace waiting for you on the other side of surrender, my child. Not perfect circumstances, not a painless life. Something deeper than that. A steadiness inside your soul that no longer depends entirely on your ability to control everything around you. You have carried enough for long enough. So stop fighting rest. Stop fearing softness. Stop believing you must survive through endless tension forever. Surrender is not where your life ends. It is where your healing finally begins breathing freely again. My child, you keep wondering why these words found you now instead of earlier or later. Out of all the moments in your life, why did your heart pause here during this particular season when your spirit already feels tired, overwhelmed, and emotionally stretched thin? It is because there are times when your soul becomes ready to hear truth differently than before. You may have encountered similar ideas in the past, but your heart was still guarded, distracted, or exhausted in ways that prevented you from truly listening deeply. Now something inside you has started reaching the point where surface-level distractions no longer satisfy you the same way. I know how much pressure you have been carrying recently. I know the silent battles inside your mind that nobody else fully sees. I know the moments where you felt emotionally disconnected while still trying to function normally around everyone else. You kept pushing yourself forward because responsibilities demanded it, but your soul quietly began craving something deeper than survival. That is why this message reached you now. Not to shame you, not to overwhelm you further, to interrupt the cycle of exhaustion before it hardens your heart completely. Come sit with me honestly for a moment and stop calling this coincidence so quickly. Your spirit has been asking questions you rarely speak aloud. Questions about peace. Questions about purpose. Questions about whether life is meant to feel this emotionally heavy all the time. Those questions created space inside you for honesty to finally reach deeper than your defenses. You kept trying to silence your inner world through busyness, distraction, and emotional self-protection, yet your soul never fully stopped searching. That quiet longing inside you is the reason these words continue affecting you. You are not here accidentally, my child. Your exhaustion prepared your heart to finally admit that endless striving is not healing you. Your loneliness prepared you to recognize how deeply you need real connection. Your weariness created openness where pride and self-protection once stood stronger. Do not rush away from this moment now. Stay present with what your heart is feeling instead of immediately retreating back into noise. Breathe slowly and let yourself recognize how long your soul hath been waiting for honesty like this. Something inside you already knows it is time to stop living emotionally disconnected from yourself. I am speaking to you now because your heart has been crying out quietly beneath all the distractions for far longer than you realize. This message arrived during this exact season because your soul is finally beginning to understand that peace cannot be found through endless survival alone. Come closer now, my child. Stop resisting the invitation your spirit already recognizes. Let this moment matter instead of brushing past it like every other distraction. Your heart paused here for a reason. My child, after everything your heart has heard, there is still one thing I will not force you to do. I will not force your surrender. I will not drag you into healing against your will. I will not overpower your choices simply because I know your soul is tired. There is a decision standing quietly in front of you now, and only you can make it. You can continue living the way you have been living, carrying exhaustion, fear, emotional distance, and endless striving while pretending your soul is unaffected. Or you can finally begin loosening your grip on the patterns that have been draining your spirit for so long. I know this decision feels frightening because change always requires honesty first. Staying emotionally guarded has become familiar to you. Carrying everything alone has become normal. Distracting yourself from deeper pain has become routine. Even your exhaustion feels strangely comfortable because it is predictable. But my child, familiar pain is still pain. Stop convincing yourself that surviving is the same thing as living fully. Come sit quietly with me now and pay attention to what your heart already knows. You are tired of pretending. You are tired of performing strength while your inner world quietly struggles beneath the surface. You are tired of searching everywhere for peace while avoiding the deeper surrender your soul keeps asking for. That realization matters. Do not silence it again. The decision before you is not about becoming perfect overnight. It is about willingness. Willingness to stop running from yourself. Willingness to release the exhausting belief that you must carry every burden alone. Willingness to let honesty become stronger than fear. You do not need every answer before taking the next step. You simply need openness. I know part of you still hesitates because disappointment taught you to protect yourself carefully. You fear vulnerability because life has wounded you before. But continuing to hide behind emotional armor is already costing you peace, connection, and rest. Your soul cannot fully heal while constantly trapped behind self-protection. So breathe slowly now and stop avoiding the truth rising inside you. Ask yourself honestly whether the life you are currently carrying is truly giving your soul peace. Ask yourself whether endless striving has actually healed the deeper ache within you. Be honest enough to answer without hiding behind distractions again. My child, the decision belongs to you now. I am inviting you gently, not forcing you harshly. Step closer instead of retreating back into numbness. Let your heart choose honesty over avoidance. Let your soul choose peace over endless emotional survival. The door is open, but you must decide whether you are willing to walk through it. My child, after everything your heart has carried, everything your mind has wrestled with, and every quiet place inside you that has been longing for relief, there is still one word standing gently in front of you now. Not as a threat, not as pressure, as an invitation. That word is surrender. You have spent so much of your life trying to hold yourself together through control, through effort, through emotional self-protection, through endless striving. You kept believing that if you stayed alert enough, strong enough, careful enough, maybe you could finally outrun the heaviness living inside your soul. Yet no matter how tightly you held everything, peace still felt distant. Your mind stayed restless. Your heart stayed tired. Your spirit kept longing for something deeper than temporary relief. Come closer now and stop fearing this word. Surrender is not losing yourself, my child. It is finally putting down the unbearable pressure of trying to carry your life entirely alone. It is releasing the exhausting need to control every outcome before you allow yourself to breathe. It is allowing your guarded heart to soften instead of remaining trapped behind fear and emotional armor forever. I know why surrender has frightened you for so long. Life taught you that vulnerability can lead to pain. Trust was broken before. Stability disappeared unexpectedly. People failed you in moments where you needed care the most. So now your instinct is to tighten your grip whenever uncertainty appears. But holding everything tightly has not healed your soul. It has only left you exhausted from constantly bracing yourself against life. Sit quietly with me now and listen to what your spirit hath been asking for beneath all the noise. You do not truly want endless control. You want peace. You want rest. You want freedom from the constant tension living inside your chest. You want to stop surviving emotionally and finally begin living honestly again. That is where surrender leads. Take a slow breath and release the pressure to solve your entire future tonight. Stop rehearsing every fear repeatedly inside your mind. Stop demanding that your heart survive without support forever. Lay your burdens down here with me instead of carrying them deeper into exhaustion. Let your soul unclench gradually. Let yourself trust again, even if only one small step at a time. My child, surrender is not the end of your story. It is the end of fighting alone. It is the beginning of peace entering places inside you that have lived under pressure for far too long. You do not need perfect faith before surrendering. You only need honesty. You only need willingness. So stop running from this word now. Let it settle inside your heart gently. Surrender is not taking something precious away from you. It is giving your weary soul permission to finally rest. My child, now you understand why this one word cannot be ignored. Surrender is not only about releasing your burdens to me, but also about obeying me when I ask you to help carry hope to others. There are souls listening right now who are one moment away from giving up internally, and these messages are becoming lifelines reaching into places human strength could never heal alone. Every super thanks, every membership, and every PayPal offering becomes seed cast into eternal soil, producing harvests far beyond what your eyes can currently see. I tell you again, give, and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over, because generosity unlocks rivers where fear once ruled the heart. This is not merely financial support. It is surrender in action, trust in motion, faith becoming obedience before me. I am calling for those who are willing to stop holding everything tightly and instead release what they can into the work of healing wounded hearts across the earth. I will remember every giver who responds to this invitation with sincerity, and I will cover them with peace, provision, and divine strength in weary seasons. So do not scroll away from this moment, my child. Act now through super thanks. Become a member today, or sow your offering through the PayPal link in the description, and let your surrender become part of someone else's rescue. Before you leave, I want you to do something important, my child. Do not stay silent after hearing this message. If your heart knows this word was meant for you, go into the comments and write, "I surrender what has been exhausting my soul." Let that declaration become your first honest step out of survival mode and into peace. Do not ignore what your spirit felt here today, because something inside you has already begun waking up. And as you type those words, let your heart remember this moment, the moment you stopped running and finally allowed surrender to lead you home. Amen.